Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Will's Way. I hope all is blessed. Guys, I apologise, man. I missed my upload day. You don't know, it's Monday, but you know what? Monday is a good day, you know what I mean? Monday is usually the start to the week, which means motivation time, do you know what I'm saying? So today, we're carrying on with the book series. And guys, thank you so much for being here as well. We've actually been doing this now for a month, roughly. Do you know what I mean? We've gained 42 subscribers within that month. So I just want to say thank you if you're subscribed. And if you're new here, you've come across my channel, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. We're all about the love, we're all about the wealth, we're all about the knowledge, we're all about the improvement, man. And I feel like we're all here to improve, we're all here, it's our divine right, do you know what I'm saying? To become the best version of ourselves as we possibly can. So please, I'd love to have you here. Please subscribe to the channel. Please follow me on socials, Will's Way free, brand new socials for Will's Way, and as well, of course, my personal account, WillStar22. I'm always dropping gems on both, you feel me? So today we're gonna carry on with the book series, and I'm reviewing a book. You know, to be honest, I wanted to do this series and really want to do the 4 books that really changed my life. I really wanted to make one video, but there was nowhere near enough time to be able to fit everything in. But today's book is The Richest Man in Babylon. This book here is incredibly insightful. It's by George S. Clayson, and it's Success Secrets of the Ancients. And it's the most inspiring book ever written on wealth, I feel. And do you know what? I was so crap with my money. I wasn't crap at getting it. I've always been good to be able to understand how to get it, if you know what I'm saying. I've always had sort of, at the start, maybe not so much, but when I started like getting involved in my career in engineering, I started learning more in the specialised knowledge. I was able to be able to convert my money quite well. But the thing is I was really bad at was actually saving it and actually managing it. And there's this universal saying, like, the more you're able to manage your money, the more you'll be given to manage. And that saying is so true. And you know, I never understood it until now. And you know what? Like, I've only really, I've come across this book 2.5 years ago, and I read it about 2.5 years ago. And ever since I read it, I was saving money from the first payday since I read it. So that means a lot. And if you understand how our brains work subconsciously, and also our relationship to money, do you know what I mean? It's very difficult because when we're so used to like spending it every time we get it, like I'd say the majority of the population are broke before payday. And it's just such a reoccurring event, and it was in my life for years, and there was no excuse for that either. When I look back, I almost cringe on how much I did spend. It was like, oh my god, like I could have been so financially free even from what I was earning back then. And as well, I feel like a lot of people think that you have to be earning millions of pounds or really high wage salaries to become wealthy, which is not the case. This book really does describe, like, even at small beginnings, you can be able to save and create a mindset that can compound over years and create a big abundance in the future. And it's just really about how we actually apply the mindset in terms of how we're wise with it. And it's such an eye-opening book, and what I'm going to do is basically go through the things in the book that really helped me. And you know what, I'm hoping after this video, and once you've watched it, you'll have maybe a different perception to how you're managing your money. Because I think a lot of the time it can become a very subliminal, subconscious way. As soon as we get it, we just sort of get rid of it. And I think after hearing the simple techniques that we can do, it's really going to change your perception. And that's my aim, really, do you know what I mean, with all these books, you know what I'm saying? Because they've changed my life. And all I'm doing is spreading this information to you guys. You know what I mean? I was no different in terms of my situation a few years back. So let's go through the book, and we'll go through some summaries and some key points to it. And I'll really try to just, to be honest, there's loads of little points in this book. There's no specific chapters in it. It's a really good story, but what I want to do is try to extract the real good points out of it and then pass it on to you guys. So this book was actually written in 1926. And to give you a really quick summary of what the story is about, there's a guy called Banzier in this book, and he ends up getting some advice from the richest man in Babylon, whose name is Arcad. So Arcad basically tells Banzier about all of these different ways and that in terms of how he found wealth and jobs, just this incredible amount of gems. And every single gem he drops, I'm just like, whoa. I'm like, wow. Simple stuff as well. And you know what? Like, when you read this book, you expect to hear something new. You expect to hear some sort of crazy secret or philosophy. But the reality is, we know every single thing, every single one of his points is It's really common sense. But the reality is how we act upon these simple things is just not the reality. We don't do it. We spend a lot of money on stuff we don't need. We don't really think wisely with our money. We like to think we do, but the reality is when you have that self-awareness check, we're just really bad with it. So that's the real story, and there's some great points across it. So he just basically explains the way he got rich and dropped so many gems. So we're going to go through some of the points here that he actually explains to the bands here, and see how they come across. So lesson number 1 was living below your means, and this lesson was really sort of drilled home to me massively, because I understood and realised that, do you know what I mean? I probably didn't, because if you're running out of money before the end of the month, you're not living to your means in terms of what you've got. You're probably overspending, or you potentially, if you're paying a lot of monthly debts in terms of store credit and cards and them type of things and loans and stuff, you're having the things before you've actually got the money to be able to afford them, and that's not living towards your means. And really it's breaking down really into 2 different classes, really. I feel like one is just like really being self-aware where your money's going, do you know what I'm saying, and like understanding that you need the things that you do. And number 2 is putting some away to be able to save wisely. And if you can do that from a very young early age and keep the consistency going, later on in life that can compound into such huge wealth. And honestly guys, like if you really think about it, say for example you're 20 years old, say for example you're even earning £1,000 per month, right? You save 10%, which is £100. Over that year, that's £1,200. It doesn't matter how much we earn and whether we're getting paid well from a good job. It's how we actually manage that money. And for example, if you're getting paid well but you're spending it all on liabilities, really, not assets, not things that are making you money, or invest in that to be able to create more money in the future, the reality is you're still just as well off as the next man. Do you know what I mean? But you maybe have nicer things. But these things, again, depreciate in value, and they may not be worth anything within a couple of years. We know what, spending money on clothes is. You spend your money on the clothes and they'll depreciate in value. You can't retain or get the money back out of that. It may make you feel nice for that temporary period of time, but how much is that really serving you? So I think, like, in terms of, like, for me, especially the lesson for me was like when I read that part and I understood that, I knew for a fact that I was not living between my means, because my money was like not even going further enough to be able to reach the end of the month. I was running out before I was getting paid again. And that was a big sort of wake up call, really. I was thinking, oh, hang on, I'm getting paid a lot of money here in terms of what I do. Why am I spending it all? And it was more like a subconscious programming. Until I read the book, I wasn't really aware of my spending habits. So I then really started to look at like where I was spending, cutting back on things I didn't. And as well, in the book it says say 10% of your earnings, no matter what you're earning. And it was a massive eye opener for me. I wasn't even saving money at the time. And this was about 2.5 years ago when I read this book. Ever since I read the book, it had such a high impact on my life. And as soon as I read it, I was saving that 10%, and that actually went up gradually. To about 15, depending on how much I'll get paid, but it was always a minimum of 10%. And with that 10%, once you've accumulated enough, you can start investing that. And the fact is, what you need to try to do, and what the book really tries to outline, is the fact that you're not saving money just for it to sit there, because that's a scarcity tactic. What you're doing with that money is making that money work for you. And this is another thing as well. Money sitting in the bank that's not being invested in a certain way is depreciating in value, because it's not actually, earning any money from itself, and it's actually falling in value due to inflation, because every single year prices go up on things. The money's sitting there and it's not actually getting any bigger. So the reality is, stagnant money is not in affluence, which means it's not circulating. So the book really explained that 10% eventually should be invested in something for it to be able to grow again. And that's another massive tactic. If you do that from a young age, you really multiply it in terms of what you save. Even 10% of your wage every single month, that number grows to a higher number. The more interest on that higher number creates more money. So it's like a everlasting cycle of investments that can come back to you, which is a massive asset in terms of passive income as well. But I think the goal as well for Western society is what we're taught from an early age, because we all do it. We all do it to a certain point where we actually realise what we're doing here. Why am I doing this? The whole goal for Western society is to work a 40-hour week and spend all your money, spend it all, and consume. It's a consumerism-driven ideal as soon as we leave school. And that's why we do it for so many years. I did it for so many years until I broke the cycle of saying, hang on, I'm not going to live like this anymore. There's surely a different way, and that book showed me the way massively. But the thing is, like, you don't have to play that game, but at the same time, you don't have to buckle your pockets as well at all. I mean, 10% is still a very small percentage of your wage. So, you know, I think 10% is a great number because it actually allows you to be able to do it effectively. You know what I mean? I think if you try to do any more, it's going to start to feel like a strain. So 10% is still like a very small number, and it's easily doable. Anyone who like is watching this can do it 100%. And if you say you can't, maybe it's time to have a look and like write down a spreadsheet of all the things you're spending on and really think to yourself, like, do I need this or don't I? And I can tell you a lot of the time, the high percentage of things that you spend your money on, you don't necessarily need. It's just your brain saying that you do. You know what I'm saying? Lesson number 2 in the book, Arcad speaks to Banzia about working hard and be able to create opportunities for himself. So luck doesn't really come by not creating any action. And what you'll find is, like, you'll see some people and you'll hear some people's story and you think, wow, how did he end up in that right place at the right time? But what they're not telling you is that this guy probably like went to this place 400 times before it actually happened, and that was because of his will to work hard. So by like working harder, by trying to get yourself and moving the energy in terms of creating more circumstances and situations for yourself, by showing up like every single day and more often, by being persistent, that you will strike luck at some point in that time in terms of working hard. And the thing is with it, a lot of people think that, you know what I mean, like being lucky is like just being selected out of nowhere. But the reality is you have to be in the race to be selected. So to be able to be seen, you need to put that energy into something and be seen in terms of like just showing up. And that is working hard in terms of what way I think. Because I think just to persistently be on time or be there is a persistent way of action, you know what I mean? And like, you know, no one's really ever lucky out of like circumstance. They generally do it, you know, how many times before they get seen, or, you know, say for example, you're going to a convention and you end up meeting someone and they're there and they completely change your life. And you think, oh, how lucky was it that I went to this convention? But you still had to get to that convention. You still had to pay for the seminar. You still had to get there. You still had to put yourself in the position to be seen. So like working hard is always like one of the best ways to be able to create more opportunity for yourself and be seen. Lesson number 3 is never take any debt on. And this is such a cruel lesson as well, do you know what I mean? Because a very large percentage of the people are in debt, you know, and that could be a credit card, it could be a store card, it could be credit arrangements, and it's all down because we want everything, we want it now, you know what I'm saying? We want it now. Like there's this more complex that we've been driven into us, and it does come from a lot of subliminal advertising, and it's very flossy when you see these things on social media, or you see these like advertisements of these people having certain objects or certain items. It makes us want to have these items, you know, and it gives us the desire to have them maybe before we've got the money to pay for them. And nowadays it's so easy to get into debt, but you got to understand the banks, as soon as you take on any credit, they've got cash signs in their eyes, because over a period of time, interest like that's paid back pays a massive amount of money. If you can understand how many people have got on the credit agreements or any debt that over interest loans, that compounds for them massively. And what do they do with that money? Of course, the banks invest that money as well to make more money. So the more money they take off you, the more they invest, and then obviously the more money they get back. And this is how the banks make money, do you know what I'm saying? And especially, you know, in terms of loans and credit and stuff like that, it's very easy for them to generate wealth out of you. And it goes back to that saying, money moves from those who don't appreciate it to those that do. And this is exactly what debt is. Like, as soon as you take debt on, you're not appreciating that money, because you know for a fact you're paying more back for the items that you've got to have them quicker. And the people that are lending to you obviously, you know, appreciate the money more because they've got a high amount to lend, you know what I mean? So remember that saying's very true in the world works in terms of affluence. It's a very easy trap to fall in nowadays, you know what I mean? So the study says here on my phone that the average American, this is American stats, is in £150,000 worth of debt. And that is just crazy, isn't it? That's the average. So if you average all the debt across America, each person will be accredited to £150,000 in the minus, bro. Madness. So one of the first steps to build wealth is quitting the irrational self-talk that makes you justify the purchases that you can't afford. And you've got that little voice in your brain saying, oh, that would be nice to have. Wouldn't that look nice on your wrist? Wouldn't that look nice around your neck? And the crazy thing is we need to obviously dampen down that part of the ego that makes us feel like we need to feel and look better to other people. Do Do you know what I mean? Because the reality is you're just selling yourself short, man. Do you know what I mean? It's so true. Like that want and that will to be able to look better in terms of that, your cost of your future and your freedom is absolutely insanity. And like, that's a real talk thing. And when Arcad told Banzir about this type of debt and this type of egotistical thing, it made me think massively about my intentions as well. Do you know what I'm saying? It's a real emotional book as well, because it puts you in a position to be able to understand, wow, am I living that way? Do you know what I mean? What am I doing? Do you know what I'm saying? In terms of like really funding my future, and am I actually detrimenting my future by taking this debt on now? How much is that going to impact me in the future? You know what I mean? And the thing is, when you go out to get a loan or finance on anything, what you'll tend to find is that you're really impacting your journey to wealth, because every single month that you could be saving it and investing, that compounds, that makes you more, you're actually putting away to pay for something that you've already got. And the problem is with that, you've already got the item. So like, you know, the reward chemical of having it is like almost so dampened as well, because you've not really felt like you've earned it. And that's the crazy thing, and we fall into this trap of like always using our monthly money to be able just to pay off things that we've already got, which is crazy if you think about it, because the reality is over a period of time when they mount up, it's just all this money coming out, you know what I mean? And you don't feel like you've got anything from it, because you've already received the item, you've already received the pleasure from the item, and you may not even be using it yet. And this is a crazy thing as well. Like how many times like you get something and you don't even use it and you're still paying it off 4 months, 5 months down the line. It's a massive impact on your income and wealth. So it's having that self-talk conversation with ourselves to say, right, can I afford it now? No. And if you can't afford it now, then you need to save up and buy it. And you know, once you start getting into the habit of doing that, you'll start to find that money is more affluent to you as well, and that you attract more of it to be able to, you know, because remember, like anything that you require for your wealth and for your dreams and for your creativity will be sourced to you eventually. Generally, we buy these things that we don't necessarily need. Remember that. So yeah, really try to have that conversation with yourself, you know what I mean? And I used to have loads, I used to do this all the time. I used to even have the money for something, but still get it out on credit agreement because I don't want to spend that money. And that was coming from a place of scarcity, you know what I mean? Trying to save a lot. And that's the thing as well. Once you've saved up enough for something, think of how nice that's gonna feel when you buy it. Like, because you've actually saved it, you bought it, and you've not actually in no detrimental like interest payback from it, you know what I mean? It's going to be able to be so beneficial for you, feel me? So who would I recommend this book to? I'll probably say if you're around about 20 years old and you've sort of just left college or whatever, and you've just started and you've just got a job, this can be massively beneficial for you. If you can get the concepts of this book now, man, like I'm telling you, by 30 years old, if you follow the 10% saving rule and you invest wisely, you'll have thousands of pounds to play with by 30. I wish I'd have read this book at 20 years old, I'm telling you now. I'm glad I read it though. I'm blessed that I came across it when I did, do you know what I'm saying? And I'm blessed that, you know, I was able to sort of, you know, to be fair, I've only really started earning from my own business. And I was earning good money from my old employer when I was an engineer as well. But, you know, to be fair, really, I've only been earning like really good money from my engineering business the last year or so. You know, the first 2 years I was earning, you know, fairly good money, but it was low in comparison to where I could be. But it was because I was starting a business and obviously I was trying to invest in it. But yeah, you know what? It's so important to be able to understand that, you know, money is a funny thing. It really is, you know what I mean? It's so simple in terms of the way it works, but it's so difficult to be able to apply these things because we're so subconsciously wired to be able to deal with it in a certain way in terms of the way we've been brought up. So it's just about being wise, man. And the book is incredible for just outlining like the simple things that we all should be doing, but we just don't do. So guys, I'm really hoping that was a cool little informative video of the lessons of what the book taught me and how important these things are. And do you know what? There's nothing special about this book in terms of like new things that we didn't already know, but what it does, it puts you in that position. It almost like makes you feel like you're Banzir and you're talking to Arcad and he's teaching you these things, and it makes you like really put yourself in his position. Because remember, Banzir works really hard, he grafts his way on, and like, you know, at the time I was a hard worker as well, and I just could relate to Banzir so much. But Arcad wasn't such a hard worker, but he was just wise and he was just really strategic, and he didn't do anything differently really. He come from real like like meager beginnings as well, but what he did was just incredible in terms of just having a little bit of a different perception and mindset to money and what it was, and the way he saved money created him a lot more in the future. So guys, a real quick one today. I'm hoping that these real simple tips help you along the way. I suggest you read the book, guys, because honestly, you can get through that book within one afternoon, about 3 hours. It's only about 200 pages, so and you know the print is not very small either, so you can probably get through that in an afternoon. And honestly, if you find yourself and you are watching this and you are maybe in a little bit of debt and you haven't really got any savings, and you know you've not really thought about the future, and you've been more in the present, spending a lot of money in terms of just getting, you know, your pleasurable impulses and stuff like that, honestly, I suggest you read it. It will really change your life. So guys, thank you very much. Please subscribe, drop a comment below if any of my stories resonate with you guys in terms of this. Next week we'll be doing our last book for the book series, and we'll be cracking on with some new sick content for you guys. So guys, really hope you enjoyed it. Keep it blessed. Send the love, send the light.
You can never stop my wave. You can never stop my wave, no. Every single day I pray. Every single day I pray.